The red, white, blue flying way up high, and we stand and salute to the ones that fight, and we don't give a damn if you don't like this American pride.
Welcome to the Sunnyside of Freedom, today hosted and brought to you by the 420 Studios. Today we have a very special guest on the Sunnyside of Freedom platform. We have 420 Chief.
It's great to be back, but even cooler to be doing this in person.
Sure is. So, Sunny wants to share with all of you in the last few days, we had some amazing times together. We had our Midwest meetup. And what that means is something that Sunny started off doing about a year ago, which is bringing veterans together and bridging the gap between veterans and civilians, which means me. Because I am a civilian. And it's been a little bit over a year that Sunny started this venture. And it's been amazing to just see not only the veteran community come together from all over the place, but also see them interact and engage, and the effort being reciprocated between our veteran community and also civilians. So we actually made this meetup happen, and I want to give a huge shout out to some of my faves. They're all my faves, but I've had some very special friends who have pushed me along and said, Sunny, you got this. Keep going. War Eagle, I love you bunches, my friend. You're amazing. Old Mike, my PB&J, and Mr. Rob Hanks, big brother. I will say that there's been some challenging times where I didn't know if I was making a difference or if I could make a difference. The reality is the difference has been made, and I will continue to push forward on my mission, which is to continue to bridge the gap. It's very much necessary and needed. It's no secret that our veteran community has more or less felt, and I understand it too, because they truly are a family. And I'll share a little bit more as we go through this interview, what that was like for me, front row seat. But when it comes to the civilians, us not knowing how to engage our veterans or knowing what to say, I think it really stops at thank you for your service. And that's really it. And there's so much more that can be done. And this meetup proves that. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to slide it on over to 420 Chief and say hello.
Hello. Yeah, I was grateful actually to be in attendance for this event, and I didn't even have to travel. It was, like I said, it's pretty close to my backyard, so it was a really amazing experience.
It was perfect, actually. A few actually were from the Missouri area, and that was pretty convenient. Some of us traveled from the Northeast. We got Mississippi that came. We had Wisconsin,
Wisconsin, Minnesota,
Minnesota.
and also Indiana.
It was super cool, super cool. So I think in total we had 9 people. We had you and Rob that were already here, right?
Correct.
Okay. So anyway, let's kick it off and just really do our takeaways from this trip.
Well, I'll start off. I remember sitting in on one of your lives. It was like, man, it was a while back, and I remember back in I don't know, November.
September.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And I remember you were talking about this, and I remember Rich is like, we need to meet in person. And then Warren goes like, yeah. And this was just on a live one night. I heard everybody talking about it, and you're like, you know what? That's something that we could talk about. And at the time, there was there was a lot of folks involved in that live, and from all over the nation. From California, Washington, Montana to Connecticut, New York, Florida, just all across. So naturally that we were looking towards like a Midwest area so that it could be like centralized for people. And from a live on TikTok, this idea was born.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And thank you for bringing up Rich. Rich, I love you so much. How could I forget Rich? Rich has also been one that's been pushing and pushing and pushing. Sonny, we got to do this. We got to do this. I think it was last summer, him, War Eagle, Rob Hanks. We got to make this happen. We got to make it happen. And I would always say, absolutely, it's going to happen. And I just kind of had to, I guess, believe in myself enough that I could pull it off and do it. And as we started to talk a little bit more, I was like, we can do this. And as I started to get to know you a little bit, Chief, the realization came like, yeah, we could do this in Missouri.
And it was funny because it's something that I do every day, which is get out and hike out in nature. And I'm very familiar with most of the state parks, to be honest, because if you know me by now, I like to travel around and take my dogs. We like to hike, we like to kayak, and we overland. And so I'm pretty familiar with most of the campgrounds, state parks, and good areas. So when I heard about this, and what you guys were looking to do, I was super excited to try to be a part of that. And
Yeah, we were super excited when we initially established that location. We're like, all right, we're doing this. It's going to be Missouri. That's the place. And then you were super awesome. So thank you. Constantly going out there, say, I think I got a site. And then that happened. And I think when I was able to say, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen in Missouri. I remember talking to our friend, Mac Simpra. I got it right, I think. Um,
you did not. It's Simper.
Simper. Hey, I had to do it. I had to
Close.
do it. Sunny says a lot of funny things. But I remember sharing my excitement, like, we're going to have a Sunnyside of Freedom meetup in the Midwest. And he immediately expressed his enthusiasm with All American Heroes and said, we can help. I'm like, really? That's fantastic. He really truly believed in what it is that we were going to do, believed in my mission. And so much of it aligns with his mission with All American Heroes. And you guys have heard Sunny talk about All American Heroes. Absolutely support what they're doing. As an ambassador for All American Heroes, I was like super touched by the gesture to want to be a part of it. Although Matt couldn't join us, many were invited to this meetup. But, it's always timing, of course. We have lives and the children and things that go on, but super grateful. Mac was super awesome. He was able to support us with All American Heroes. Our lodging was taken care of, which is super cool, super cool. So huge shout out to you guys, All American Heroes. Thank you so much for making the Sunnyside of Freedom Midwest meetup a success. Much love to all of you. So I want to kick it off, Chief. So from the time I arrived, you immediately um, touched me in the sense that I was like, wow, this is really happening. Like, there really is a sunny side of freedom here. You presented me with this cap, and I really want to show it to everyone because this is very meaningful to me. And then you explained what sunny meant in yellow. And I was hoping you can explain what this means for those watching.
Sure. So we'd met actually at an All American Heroes Foundation um, in Albany Lodge, Wyoming. And at that time, she liked my hat. She liked the fit of it. It's just an old operator cap. It's super duper faded. But I did have her one made with the Sunny Side of Freedom patch on the front, and then the name tape on the back for the enlisted folks, like on a ship on your command ball caps. Everybody's name's usually in like black. And the skipper usually has the scrambled eggs of gold on the front, and then his and only his name tape is in gold on the cap. So you were kind of the skipper, the captain of this meetup as far as I was concerned. So I thought, you know what, you like the hat rather than running the risk of mine getting stolen.
Could possibly happen.
Yeah, so I thought that would be cool and fun and help try to keep some of the ticks out of your hair, which you did a really good job with that too.
I must say, I did not collect any ticks on my body the entire time. But today, I had a 5, 6 crawling on me, I think, possibly. Yeah. So, going back to the very first, I don't know, the very first day. Let's kick it off with the very first day. I think we were able to capture everyone's arrival, which was amazing, amazing. As you see, one car pull up, the second car pull up, and that first hug. That very first hug, like, wow, we've been friends. We've had so many conversations on our Veterans Live every Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. Um, and then to finally actually not only see somebody, but hug them and know that you're going to spend a few days with them was just amazing. What do you think about that, Chief?
It's incredibly surreal, it's a little bit of anxious and a little bit of nervous, like, you've met someone online and you might had time to feel like you've gotten to know them, but meeting them in person, you really get to put a face to that personality. it's so much more than a name because you've already got somewhat of a relationship with some of these folks. And I remember seeing them, like they would be driving up to the cabin. I'm like, oh man, for example, like, oh, there's Rich. This is one example. I'm like, and he pulls in and he gets out. And I'm like, Rich is tall as fuck. Rich is a giant. And I was like, brother, and we just immediately like a hug. And so it's like maybe a fraction of a second. It's it's a little bit nervousness, but right after that, it's like, oh man, how cool is this? This is really happening. You're really here. And it wasn't even awkward. It was just like so cool and no drama. Just everybody started to arrive and the feeling immediately just kicked off. The vibe was there. It was go time.
As we always hashtag my friend positive vibes, and that's exactly it. The energy was matched right from the get-go. Immediately it was like, wow, it was like family reuniting. It didn't feel like I was meeting a stranger or afraid to talk to them or know what to say to them. It was just incredible, actually. Um, every single car that pulled up, the hugs were unreal, unreal. I'll never forget that. And it really felt like family coming together and ready to like camp out for a few days and do some things together, and super grateful, so just so super grateful that they believed in me first to even want to entertain the idea of having a Midwest Sunnyside meetup. That to me will always mean a lot, and there were so many that wanted to join us, and which will continue to motivate me to make sure another one happens sooner than later.
Yeah, for sure. But I remember everybody just started to arrive. We got them assigned to their respective cabins so that they could unload some of their things. And then we all met back up at one particular cabin every day because it was just right there in sight of all of them. Had an extra picnic table. And I remember that, after everyone had arrived, we were all just kind of hanging around outside, that first night. And it wasn't even like if you've ever been to maybe a work party and you've got everyone there, you'll see there's just little cliques here and there. But but with us, it was the opposite of that. It was like everybody wanted to talk, and we would have break off groups, but it intertwined so well that no personalities collided the entire time, let alone like even the first night, it was amazing. And we had a little bit of rain even, didn't we, the first evening?
Yeah, the first night we had some rain, and you're so right. It was like everybody just wanted to converse. There were no, hey, sometimes you'll find that at a party. You'll go off to the side with somebody because, you found your little, like, I don't know, matched energy. In this particular event, I'll call it event, um, everybody just got into the conversation, round table, I call it the round table fire, around the fire pit. It was super cool to see everyone just enjoying. Um, and that first night was like, wow, this is happening. Like, it's really happening. And we all got pumped for sure. Very, very pumped for the next day. What are we going to do? Everyone's energy was super, super high.
It really was, and it was cool. I didn't even talk about, smoking weed or anything like that, but I did bring, my pipe and some paper so I could roll up. And, I sat at the picnic table and there was a few folks or a couple at least a couple folks that came over and would smoke with me, and for me, this is something that I think you've seen it before when we went to Wyoming and met Blaze. It's like I said on that follow-up podcast, it's one of those things that it's unspoken, like you know your people, know your tribe. And so I'm just call it out. Rich came over and it's like, hey man, and immediately we were able to smoke together. We we just clicked so well from that. And then Timber even brought his wife, and I'm not going to say her name, but I got to talk to her, and she has so many powerful stories. I'm I'm so excited to get those out there one of these days. But what an amazing lady! She was a veteran, female veteran in the Navy back in the day, and just some of the stuff she told me just completely made me realize how normalized we made some really fucked up shit for women in the military. But let me digress from that. I can't wait to get that story out for her. But just some of the medicinal benefits that cannabis has had in the ways that it's helped her in her life was phenomenal. I've just sat there and listened to her and listened to her and like, wow, just astonished on how like this is what I do. I had never met her. I had no idea about this. And she's telling me some of the medications that she's been able to get away from with the use of cannabis and how it's helped her and how incredibly difficult it has been for her because of that. So anyways, just one of those things that I love with the 420 crowd. You know, we don't talk about anything dramatic. We don't have any conflict. We sit there and we're able to open up and have amazing conversation, valuable conversation, but also have a really fucking good time.
I'm glad you brought her up. I won't say her name either, but I will say that it was awesome to have her join us. There were only two females, and it was just the fellas. And I still will choose man over bear in the woods. Felt very protected. Um, it was incredible to actually see how you all interacted with one another. It wasn't a forced conversation. It was just very peaceful. We had an amazing time conversing, and no judgment either. Judgment-free zone. Everybody was just like accepting. That's key. Accepting of who we are and loving each other for who we are. And it was very peaceful. I love to see and Rich, come over and just be in his smile, his laugh. I just gotta say, I love your laugh, Rich. You make me laugh. When we talk about smiles are contagious, your laugh is contagious, my friend. Especially when it's delayed. It comes out of like, oh, there he goes.
Bulls it up like a turbocharger. So by the time you hear it, he's really getting it.
Fist pump.
But I think the cool thing though about that night, like we'd mentioned we had some scattered thunderstorms freaking all weekend. But that night, nobody was bored. Nobody was asking any questions about anything. We were so in the moment of the company that we were in that we didn't care about the rain. We didn't care about the schedule. We didn't even care about the time. I think we stayed up pretty damn late every night just shooting the shit. But that first night, we didn't even break out music, guitars. We just we chatted, snacked. Yeah.
It was awesome. And we had our good friend Rob bring us a ton of firewood. So it was just really magic flames. We got to talk about magic flames.
Well, you mentioned Rob, and I just wanted to put it together for some folks. Rob is a good friend of mine that I did a couple of episodes about. Every time I've gone and overlanded and stayed at Rob's house, I've talked to Bub about it in our podcast. But Rob is an amazing man. Like, he really embraces the simple life. He's someone that knows what he needs and how to use what he has and doesn't need anything extravagant. He's very, very simple and very happy with being simple.
I agree 100%. And I think I gave him 3 hugs when he showed up. He's like, Strudel! Strudel! That's my nickname for
Yeah,
Rob.
he's a big dude, big burly dude, and just a sweetheart, man. He's my favorite person to sit and do nothing with.
I agree. And I can get him to smile.
Yeah, you can do that way easier than me.
I got a great picture of him actually. If you were like, how'd you get him to smile? Rob's the kind of person where you're like, is he happy? He is. He's always happy. He's got a huge heart. Don't tell anybody. I won't tell
I'm gonna
anybody.
stand up for Rob. Rob, say fuck that. I hate everybody.
No, but you're right about time. Nobody was looking at their clocks, even though we did have a schedule. We knew that we had activities planned, but everyone was just so relaxed. I felt like the campground was just for us. It was quiet. All we heard was the sounds of the whippoorwill. I'll call it the whippoorwill and the cicadas. And it was just very peaceful. And I couldn't actually wake up the next morning as the organizer. I did have a little bit more to think about. Like, okay, I got to set, my alarm. I got to make sure the coffee's ready for my peeps. What are we doing for breakfast? Timber, I got to give you a huge shout out. He's like, I got the eggs. I'm like, all right, all right. Oh, speaking of eggs, Rob brought us a huge thing of eggs, farm raised eggs. So thank you, thank you, thank you, my friend. They were delish.
Rob bought us a lifetime supply of eggs for an event. He brought a ginormous cooler stocked, like just packed full of 18 egg cartons. I was like, we would all have to eat a carton a day to get rid of those eggs.
We were not starving. We had eggs for days.
We ate so good at this thing. It was too much. It was too nice for us. We had so much food, so much left over, and it was all so freaking good.
So that was really like our first day. So we kicked off breakfast. Everything went awesome. We had our bacon. We had our scrambled eggs. We had, my goodness, I can't even think, there was so much.
There was yogurt, fresh fruit,
Yep.
granola bars, snack bars, danishes, honey buns,
Muffins
milk. I love milk. We had milk and coffee non-stop. 2 machines, stole one from another cabin.
all day, every day. All day, every day.
But I do remember that second morning, I woke up in such an excited, happy mood just to see my new BFFFs that I had just made the night before. So I did. I woke up a little bit early. I wanted to help out and make sure, that coffee was ready primarily. Because us sailors, we got to have our fucking coffee first thing.
Most definitely. That's how Sunny survives, literally. I have coffee running through my veins. It's like the first thing I need, and then the other eye opens. But no, definitely. I put on my skipper hat, had it on. I was like, all right, let's rock and roll. We immediately got to our mission. We were like, all right, what are we doing? Where are we going? And that's kind of when the weather started to play a role in our schedule. But you know what? We made it happen. It was like the coolest group of people.
Sure.
We literally were like, all right, let's head there. We got there. We're like, oh, there's a storm rolling in. I think Chief actually referred to it as we're in the valley, so we could actually see it roll in. So we stayed under the pavilion for safety reasons, of course, and we didn't want to be hiking in the middle of it either. And I got my first opportunity at throwing a disc. Tell us about the disc.
So that's one of my favorite hobbies is disc golfing. It's just somewhere like you go. I used to play golf with clubs, and it's one of those. That's a sport that it's hard not to get pissed off, right? Like I lived in a golf community, and I just wasn't good enough to enjoy it. So disc golf to me, just like throwing a frisbee, something I've been doing my entire life, and something my dog really enjoys. And one of my favorite pastimes is obviously I go out and I'll throw the frisbee with my dog to make sure he's getting his exercise and to keep my joints limber because I don't do Tai Chi, so I do disc golf. Weird.
Well, we get to see him disc golf, and it's like he's throwing it into another state. So we're like, we got this. It can't be that hard. It's a tiny little disc. We got this. So I go and I'm like, oh my God, how embarrassing. And of course, you're surrounded by veterans. They're all picking on you. I'm like, all right, let me see what you got. They all followed my lead. I was like, how's that wind? How's that wind? So that was a little bit of a running joke. We got nothing on you, Chief. We got nothing on you.
Well, that was awesome. I want to set the scene for our listeners because, like you had mentioned, we are in a valley. So just picture this: like you're in a valley. It's flat, green grass, and on the horizon is like a U-shaped rock formation, just like you're in this bowl. Okay, and the storm is moving in, and you can see it, like from way far away and it's dark. So we have sunlight, we have some clouds, and then you see like this dark front. It's almost like a line in the sky that just moves in. And that we're in a big pavilion. I think there's 10 picnic tables, usually like one of those places people would rent for a children's birthday party. So we're sitting in there, it gets darker. You hear a little bit of thunder. Didn't see the lightning, I don't believe. But we didn't really care. We were in there just chatting it up, and then the rain hit, opened up, and we had the metal roof. And I think that blocked out the cicada sound for a little bit.
It sure did. But you know what? We took full advantage of that time. Actually, Sunny actually made a TikTok video. I said, all right, let's go. We're going to plank. And I actually got several of them. I think there was 5 or 6 of you on top of me. What? Yeah. I was like, please don't fall. They were all planking on that picnic table to picnic table. I think there was like 5 or 6 of them. And we did plank it out, as I call it. We planked it out, and they planked it out with me, which was super awesome. And then it started to clear out a little bit on that weather, which was super cool. We had good conversation while we were there, some good laughter, and Bub joined us too.
Yeah, Bubba showed up while we were at the pavilion and brought some cool goodies. And yeah, right, that was about lunchtime. So I think that's about the time we decided to pack it back up and head up to the cabins and begin our day 2 lunch.
And I want to quickly, since we're talking about Bub, I just want to give him a huge shout out. I call him my, not volunteer, he's like my runner. He was like, I'm like, Bub, can you go grab me this? Bub, I forgot this. Can you go? He did it with a smile. So much love to you, my friend. You're awesome.
I-
You were literally kicking butt.
I did want to say I got a lot of good feedback on Bub. So yeah, I appreciate it and thank you everybody for the compliments. Bub is a fine boy. He's a hard worker and he's got a really good head on his shoulders and he's very respectful. And I do expect a lot out of him sometimes. You know, I treat him probably I have my expectations of him are higher than that of anyone, really, you know, and even with the production of this podcast, I put a lot of pressure on him. And so thank you, Bub. I love you. And I'm proud of you.
And he gives good hugs. I'm just going to throw that out there. He's a great kid. I have kids of my own. I have three, and I have one his age. So I have to tell you, I'm super proud of the young man that you are. Um, you are just going places, kiddo. So keep doing what you're doing and always keep a smile on your face. So we got back to the cabins. It's lunchtime. I don't even remember what we had for lunch. Oh, we made sandwiches that day. That was easy peasy. And it was kind of like buffet style, everyone making their sandwiches. And then it was just like chillax. I think we had some rain. I'm not really sure right now.
We
We
did.
did, right? We had
Yeah.
some rain. Yeah. Because I had my raincoat on. I
Yeah,
got to
this
dance in puddles too.
Yep, it was Friday. So we had our sandwiches. You know, some folks would break out. Maybe I think we some folks got some nap time in after that, you know, lunch, a little afternoon nap. But then we all met back up and it kind of sprinkled off and on. Um, but we did actually that night we kicked off we got our bonfire going.
We did get the bonfire going. Those magic flames.
Yep.
For the ones that didn't know what they were, had never seen them, very curious about the magic flames, which I always, always enjoy watching.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we would take old Christmas lights and we would throw those in the fire, and it does kind of a similar thing. I think like the because of the copper in them, and then the bulbs, it would burn different colors. And so later in life, I found these magic flames, just a little powder that comes in a packet. I think you could pick some up at Walmart in the sporting goods section. Amazon sells it. I don't leave home without the stuff. Everywhere I go, every overlanding trip, every bonfire, Chief's gonna be throwing in some magic flames, and people are like, "What's going on with the fire?"
The fire was awesome. But let me talk about the meal now. Let me talk about the meal. So Rob Hanks brings me like this huge pork loin, and I'm looking at it like, what am I going to
10
do with
pounds.
this? I'm like, what am I going to do with this? He's like, well, you could do this and you could do that. And then I had my friend War Eagle, and he's like, pulled pork. I'm like, I love you. You're awesome. Let's do this. So he was my right hand. Thank you so much, my friend. We made some amazing pulled pork, and that actually started in the morning. I stuck that baby in the oven. We got it all cooked up, and it was ready for dinner. So dinner was easy peasy. Can't even remember what we ate with that pulled pork now. I think we actually had, was it broccoli too?
You did make some broccoli, but we had macaroni salad, we had a potato salad, we had some coleslaw, we had dinner rolls. We did it to the nines. It was like an 8-course meal every time.
We camped out bougie style. Most definitely. So that actually Friday night was Veterans Night for Sunny. So you know I had to go live. I mean, an opportunity like this to miss out on Veterans Night with myself surrounded around the fire by our veterans. So I actually started off quite interesting, actually. I went into the cabin, kicked off my live. I'm like, welcome. It's Friday. It's Veterans Night. So happy you guys are here. So hold on a second. I got a fire going too. I go outside and you had Timber playing guitar. You guys were all chatting it up. And that's kind of where I hosted my Veterans Live that night. It was so amazing. There was lots of laughter, joking, stories even, guitar playing.
Oh my goodness, that night was so kick-ass, and I have to shout out Timber for grabbing the guitar, coming down and playing. He plays, he's got a few specialties, but the latest one that Timber has been working on is a little bit of Journey, a little bit of Prince, and the song weaves together, and he sings it and plays it so beautifully. He's not rushing through it. He's putting feeling into it, and just big, huge shout out, man, because that set such a good vibe. And such a good vibe, in fact, that there were actually people in the chat on the live that may not have been having the best day. You know what? I'm not going to name names because this particular individual I'm thinking of you are going to be interviewing soon. But, anyways, I do remember because of that and the fact that we were all there together, it was something. You got my ADHD going because I was overstimulated. We got guitars, we got a live, we got a chat, we got conversations. Got my boy Rich next to me in real life instead of just on the screen. It's cool to see him on the screen and look over and be like, you know. But it was such an event that even people in the chat, like I had mentioned, that weren't having the best day were like, "I'm glad I saw this. Like, this is what I needed today." And the fact that we were, TikTok personalities, like, we didn't really know each other in person with the exception of Sil and myself, and then I had obviously had met Rob before. But that just validated everyone. Everyone that was there was genuine. Everybody that was there showed their true self, especially while we were there, and more than that, became a good friend. And I think that that vibe was mutually felt beyond the group and even into that chat where it was helping other people. And that really just got this feeling inside of me like this is really doing something because it's definitely doing something for those that are there, but it's also impacting those that aren't.
I agree 100%. I actually went around and asked every single one of you guys, what the experience felt like for you. And it was nothing but positive feedback. And then even some conversations I had one on one, how meaningful this was for them, that they didn't even have the realization until they were in it, like, I really needed this, which was having the meetup with fellow brothers and sisters, and just super grateful for the opportunity to do so. And that just made my heart smile because that was the purpose. That was my purpose. And so that was an amazing night. And I can't leave out Casey. Casey, Mr. Fire Stoker. He smoked us out.
Man, Casey was so much more. Like Casey was a midshipman in the Navy. He was discharged as an O1, but Casey showed up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and certainly eager to get involved and to help. And Casey, was a huge, he would run and get things. If he saw anyone that needed anything, he would grab that. Fire was smoky, yes, not his fault at all. We had so much rain that the wood was sitting out in the rain. So the fact that he got it that hot and blazing, kick-ass job on that. But even more so than that, my key takeaway from Casey was I really admired his patience and genuine authenticity and interest in every single person that was there. He really listened and lent a hand, and thank you.
Thank you, my friend. And he's 100% right. That fire was kick ass. And that's me teasing you because you tease me too. But I will say one thing I noticed and take away from Casey, aside from his constant, like, do you need anything, Sil? Can I get this for you, Sil? He was super helpful, but he was always smiling. And that's huge for Sonny. Share your smile. And he always had a smile on his face, always a smile. And I just really appreciated getting to actually spend time with him, with all of you for that matter. But, like you said, we get on these lives, everyone's in their little boxes. You get to know them, but to actually be around the fire with them was unreal. Unreal experience. And it definitely pumped me up to make sure that I continue doing what I'm doing so that there's more opportunities to make this happen for more and more veterans. Because a lot of the takeaway from the live that evening was some of the veterans that join us every Friday were like, I want to be there. That's what it that's what I was hoping it would do, which would be to encourage someone, get out of your comfort zone. Let's go. Start investing in you. Do the necessary things that fill your cup. And you're so right. We did have a few join that said was having a really crappy day. And that immediately changed like that. It was like they were with us. They were with us in the moment. They shared in that experience because I was live for them. Um, and it was just a really amazing time that I personally will not forget that live.
No, absolutely not. And it didn't even end there. After the live, Mr. Hanks himself did his usual bonfire live. And what was really especially cool about that, that doesn't sound necessarily entertaining for most folks. I personally love to sit on a live and just listen to music and watch a bonfire. That's what Rob and I do in real life for entertainment. But this time, we had the Sunnyside family at the meetup that had their cameras turned around on our bonfire from different angles. Rob had his from his bonfire, and I think there were even some at home that had bonfires. It was like bonfire live on all the boxes, so that was awesome.
100%. And if you guys are wondering, Rob was a part of our meetup, but Rob couldn't stay the night. So he would literally commute. And I think it's like a 2.5 hour drive for him. But he was with us. And when he couldn't physically be there, like at the bonfire, he'd start a bonfire at his house. We'd go live and see him that way.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was so cool.
It was super cool. So the next day, Saturday, let's talk about Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday started off very similar to Friday morning. Where the coffee at? Kind of deal. We started some breakfast, and we did barbecue bacon both days in the morning for breakfast with a little bit of charcoal we had left. So bacon and eggs, obviously the yogurt.
Don't forget the potatoes.
We had potatoes too. Yeah.
Sunny was boiling those bad boys like at midnight the night before. I mean, talk about making sure we have a really good breakfast. So that was awesome. We had an amazing breakfast together. We kind of mapped out our day. We knew we wanted to go hiking and fishing. That was right there. Rob Hanks shows up. He rolls up 9 a.m. He's like, "We're going, we're going." So actually, you led a hike,
I
right?
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
we split up into the two groups. You were in the fishing group. I did lead a hike group. And again, like this is my backyard. This is probably a park that I go to multiple times a week. So I've they've got several of their own trails. I have chief modified trails. I have my own reasoning for my stopping points. But it was cool. You want me to tell the story of the hike? Like,
Yeah, tell the story about the
yeah,
hike.
so it was myself, Timber, War Eagle, and Rich. And so we met up at the same spot actually where we were all throwing the frisbee. And it's just a place that there's a little opening, and we started the hike from there, and it's a very very steep incline. And so my initial concerns were like I want to make sure that everyone is fit enough to do this, because even if you're in really good shape, like we learned, like snowmobiling, that kicked our ass. It doesn't matter how good a shape you're in, that can kick your ass. Well, hiking up some of these trails, like this one in particular, it's very very steep, and it's all rock. And like we had mentioned, it had been raining, so it's slick, it's muddy, there's moss everywhere. If you've ever hiked in a Missouri trail, you're going to have a lot of coverage, tree coverage. You're going to have a lot of leaves down. You're going to have a lot of mud. So it's steep and it's slick. We even had War Eagle joke that he slipped a little bit, and he's like, "Just let me roll all the way down. Don't stop me till I get to the bottom."
And you guys did great. So you guys ended up coming back. You found us fishing. We didn't catch anything because the river was just moving too fast. And actually, speaking of the river, um, our intentions were actually to go rafting, but the water was so high we actually couldn't go rafting. So we made the best of it. We fished. I fished with Rob and 007, and I had the baby pup with me. I had a little Spike with me, keeping me company. So that was pretty cool. We had some fun. And we actually did some push-ups in the water, both Casey and myself, because we had seen that you had done some push-ups with Timber up on your hike.
Yeah, after we got to the top of that initial, there's this beautiful lookout area where you can see the river down below where you guys were fishing. We couldn't quite see them fishing, but we could see the edges where the other people were at the beach. But we stopped at that point because it's right at the top. It's a good rest, and we got some great footage, some good pictures. War Eagle got some awesome pictures up there, and then Timber joined me for my daily push-up video up there. So every day, I don't know if you don't follow me on TikTok, I do 24 push-ups for 2024, but it's also to help raise awareness and spread awareness for 22. And if you actually have any questions about that, I've got a new shirt, Reckless Creators,
Yeah.
and it's pushing for 22, and it has the definition on the back. So check that out. But that was so cool to have Timber in real life with me. And the thing that makes it so neat is sometimes like Timber will duet me on TikTok. So it's one thing to do this on TikTok, and it's another to see it in real life, together. Just a completely different feeling. Even in the comments, some of our friends, they're like, "How cool is that? That is so awesome." Like it just is a vibe in itself, just being together.
I think our friends were like, "Oh my God, they're all together. They're all push-upping it together." Actually, I forgot to mention, we actually kicked off that morning in a group plank. Just saying. It was a group plank. That's how we kicked it off before we took off. And then when I had seen that you had done your push-ups with Timber, I looked at Casey. I'm like, "We're doing this." And actually, that was funny because Sunny doesn't push up. Nope, Sunny doesn't push up. It's usually one knee down. That's how I roll. And we did our 22, and then I realized I never pressed record. And he's like, "You're joking, right?" I'm like, "I know, right? We got to do this shit again." Rob's laughing his butt off. He's like, "Hi," he's just laughing. It was great. And then after all of that had happened, we had gone back to our campground, and then just kind of chillaxed, I think, for a little bit. Made some more coffee, and got ready for the afternoon.
Yeah, prepared for supper. And yeah, I left to do my daily video and collect my thoughts. And I think at that point, some people might have went and taken some naps, did a little bit of shopping, and then yeah, we didn't muster back up until supper time. So
Yeah, but even supper time, that was our surf and turf night. War Eagle, thank you for those steaks. They were the size of my head. For real.
steaks,
Um,
shrimp,
yeah, I made some shrimp on skewers, baked potatoes, like ginormous baked potatoes. What else did we have? Mushrooms and onions and peppers.
corn. Did we do the corn on the
I
cob?
don't think we did
We
the
didn't
corn on
even
the
do. We had too
so
much.
much
We had
food.
asparagus.
Asparagus. Yes.
Oh,
Asparagus. So we were like really, really camping in style. Everybody was happy. I think their bellies were happy. Lots of food. I wanted to make sure they were all happy. They had their sweets, they had their salty things, they had everything they needed. So we had a great dinner. Did we have after the bonfire? Did Rob end up making another bonfire? I can't remember.
I don't either. I thought so. I thought Rob did. Yeah, I don't know. I ended up hanging out with Rich a little bit longer out by the bonfire that night, and 007 as well.
Yeah, it was good. I think we were kind of like taking in Friday and Saturday and everything we did, realizing that we only had, you know, only several hours left before everything coming to a close.
Yeah, and everybody was, kind of tuckered out because even if we didn't, those that didn't go on a hike were still out, in the sun. That drains you. We were outside all day, just being outside in the sun, and the Missouri humidity is pretty high, super muggy. That'll really just wear you out by the end of the day, especially when you're getting up pretty early.
Absolutely. I also wanted to kind of just go really touch base on something, which is something you brought up earlier in today's conversation, which is the fact that our energy matching allowed us to open up to one another. We shared some stories. I realized also on the outside looking in, those that did partake in, 420, for instance, right? The friendships that were there, it was easy. And whether you were smoking or not smoking, it didn't make a difference. There was that to me was huge because out in society, there's just such a stigma with all of it. And that's important to recognize. Even when I was sitting off to the side and having my own conversations, and I actually did an interview with War Eagle, which stay tuned, you'll see that coming up soon, which I like to share and put out another one too. But it was just an amazing experience to see all of you guys just interacting with one another. And I think on several occasions, you all said, like, it's just there. It's a bond that no one understands. You guys come together, and I think it's different than civilians.
Yeah, it was something that a couple of people mentioned. It's like it's not like a reunion, it's not like you're just meeting. It's like a reunion, even though we had never met. It's like we already knew each other. There was no awkwardness. That camaraderie was just there, and in such a way that we were able to talk a lot. And I do a lot of these events, and this is kind of my thing, is I go out and I do this and I talk to people. But what really hit me hard this time was how everyone has a story. Like everybody is not just ordinary. A lot of people feel they're just super normal, and because they've been through something, they think everyone has or everyone understands that. And every time I get a chance to meet new people like this and hear new stories, it really opens my eyes to things in a different light. And it makes me grateful for them, what they've been through, and what they learned from that. And that in itself is therapy. They say that talking is therapy. We certainly did that. They say that music is therapy. We had Bluetooth speakers. We had timbre on guitar. We had music. And they say that laughter is therapy. I'm not sure we stopped doing that unless we were stuffing our face full of delicious food or sleeping.
I agree, my friend. We did a lot of that, and it was awesome. And as we were closing out our meetup, I could see the little bit of that sadness, like this is coming to an end. And I really want to touch base on this. One of the realizations that came to me was like, this was really needed. It was shared that it was needed. It's not like you're going on vacation. You realize that you're going to meet people that understand you, and I immediately picked up on that as a civilian, how true that is, that when our veterans come together, it's there. It's a bond, it's needed, the conversation that's needed, it's therapy for them to engage with one another. That's going to continue to push me to continue on my mission, which is making more of these meetups happen. This was the Midwest meetup. We don't know where we're going to land next, but we already have some of them from the group talking about the next meetup, which I'm super excited about. Um, and if I can encourage anyone out there that ever thinks about doing something like this, I'm just going to tell you, go for it. It really is rewarding, as a civilian, to have like a front row seat and see the love that's exchanged. But even more powerful was the you're never alone. And that message was very clear, that even though any one of us at any given time can feel alone in the shit, life happens. It's constantly happening. We go through crap, civilian or not. At the end of the day, when you come together with someone else, and that's where the message never alone, you aren't. You just have to reach out. And I'm going to applaud everyone that participated in this, because they definitely brought that message home and reinforced it. And I'm just happy to be able to share this with all of you. And I hope that you'll stay tuned for more of these meetups. So I want to pass it over to Chief and see if he's got any closing thoughts on the Midwest meetup.
I do. I think when we did the Free for All Sunday Night Live, we did an around the room and the pros and cons, and the only cons we had were I didn't want to leave, it was too short, and so that really did impact a lot of people, and nobody really wanted it to end. And what I took away from that is I miss these people now. I've met them in real life. I made real life friends, and where if I get off of a live, I don't ever be like, oh, I miss that. But now it's like, man, I know these guys. I miss them because we were together. I miss our shared experience, and I miss, certain things. But now I also have someone else I can call. If I know I need a laugh, I can call War Eagle. Before this meetup, I didn't know him like that. I didn't know his story. Certainly didn't know his jolly positive attitude. But after meeting him, I know that he's the kind of person that if I'm having a shit day, I can call and talk to him and he'll make me laugh or he'll listen to me.
I agree with you, my friend. It was a feeling. It was like, oh, we have to say goodbye. Goodbyes are hard, but they're temporary. It's so I think we actually started saying till next time, and it hasn't sunk in for me yet. I fly out today, so that's a realization, and I'm going to have my own thinking and reflection to do. And I've actually had moments of emotion. This has been really something very important to Sunny, and to come to the realization that, wow, I made it happen. And that's huge. That's huge. It's going to continue to push me to do more of this, and not only get to meet new veterans, but hopefully see the same faces that I now call friends. You're so right. We meet on social media, and so many will say, well, not real friendships. You're just behind a screen. The reality is, there are real people right behind these screens with real stories that need to be shared. And I'm so happy and consider myself very blessed to be able to share some of their stories with all of you. So I hope you'll continue to follow me on the Sunnyside of Freedom platform, and continue to follow us. Chief, you are kicking butt. I am so super proud of everything you're doing with 420 Chief. You have been, I call you my sidekick, my BFF over here. You understood my mission from day one, and you got right on board with anything that I needed, and I appreciate you. I truly appreciate you.
Well, I think that's something that we both put out in our videos every day, right? Hashtag match my energy. So when I saw what you were doing, even as a civilian, it didn't matter that you weren't military to me. I saw that you were putting veteran first above self, like you really care. and you've really created a community and a place where people can share not just stories now, but experiences in real life. And, like you'd mentioned, just stepping back, even removing myself from the experience, I was able to see that with other people. I was able to watch physically other relationships develop, other future events being planned, whether that's a concert or a hike or a camping trip or a race or whatever it was really amazing to see people meeting new people that they really like that could become their friend. So I want to thank you for not just talking about it, but actually doing it, because there's a lot of folks out there that ask, well, as a civilian, how can I help bridge that gap? Well, in my eyes, you have just demonstrated an amazing thing, and it's something that took you a long time to build up that veteran relationship. But once you've got it to this place, you found a loyal and dedicated group of people that were willing to step in and help. And so excited to watch that grow. So if anybody has questions on how can I bridge that gap, it doesn't have to be a meetup. It doesn't have to be this extravagant, but it does require some form of action from yourself. And whether that's just simply attending, maybe it's a VFW event and just being there to smile at someone or being an ear that they're comfortable to speak to. It could be anything, but this is a great example of how people can meet online and build these types of relationships and come together to make friendships for life.
I agree with you. You mentioned last night's free for all Sunday. That was a feeling that I won't forget either. So Sunny runs her Sunday free for all Sunday lives, and to see every single one from the trip pop into their boxes, it was a different feeling. There was a different level of excitement there. It's like, you're there, oh my God, you're home. And that was a different feeling than when they were popping in before, because we know each other now. There's like this relationship that's just grown. And I really just want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for believing in me. And the love. You guys really took me under your wing, and you're like, making sure that I always feel like I'm a part of you and the family, just like you are part of the Sunnyside family. And it's growing, and it'll continue to grow. And it's with all of your help. And yes, Chief, you're right. It requires dedication, it requires commitment. Stick it out. If you have any questions for Sunny on how to do that, so many of you sometimes say, Sunny, you inspire me. You can do it too. You can. And just like Chief said, it doesn't have to be a meetup. There's so many things that we can do to give back. I think I said in my live last night, some of the feedback I got was, Sunny, I wish you had sat more with us. Well, Sunny was organizing this event, and I really just wanted to see all of our veterans sitting together. And that for me was my high. That was like, yes, that was like my purpose, and my entire mission was I want to get them together, always better together. So super grateful for the opportunity. With this, I'm going to close us out today just by saying thank you for the opportunity. Can't wait for the next one. Always stay sunny, stay spicy, make it count, lead in love, always lead in love, and lead the way for others. We don't need followers, we need more leaders. So get out there, kick some ass, and do it with a smile.